We're having a conversation with Brenda and Mark Miller in their beautiful Brownstone Colonial Inn. And we're going to have a conversation about when they met, when they got married, and everything that they went through getting this place in shape. So tell us your story.
Well, where we met was in Heston, Kansas in 1979.
We were college sweethearts.
We had both attended there. This started the same year, 79, and we both graduated in 81. How we kind of got together was because my cousin, who lived in town, would come to the campus and check out all the girls, and he kept asking me about this Brenda Hershey. And I said, yeah, I know her, because Brenda's roommate was a good friend of mine. So he was having a get-together at his house, and he was wondering if I would ask her to come over. And I said, you can ask her. And he was like, no, you ask her. So I ended up asking Brenda to come over to this get-together at his house, and we were there for a little bit, and then we left and walked back to the campus, and I think from that point on we were together.
We talked a long time, just really connected, and yeah, we just started officially dating, I guess, at that point. And
yes, I guess there was another boy in the mix that had to go bye-bye, so that happened, and we ended up staying together throughout the whole school. And then I went to work in Indiana as a flight instructor, and Brenda was still working at the college. You got a good job at the college
after we graduated, and it actually paid more than his flight instructor job. That's just how it was back in the day. Flight instructors didn't make very much money, so we decided to marry and move to Kansas, or stay in Kansas.
Yeah, you were staying, I moved to Kansas. And there were no flying jobs, so I got a construction job. I worked in construction, which was a lot more dangerous than flying airplanes.
In some ways, yeah.
Like building houses?
It was actually building churches.
Okay.
This company I worked for specialized in building churches. And their main specialty was octagon churches, which was really unique. And they were all over Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, building these churches. So I did that for a year until I got a job working as a flight instructor at the college. Worked there for 1 year, and then I got a job working for a construction company, flying for them. That was in western Kansas. So we moved to western Kansas, out close to Colorado, close to Denver.
That was actually a good experience, because we didn't know anyone in that community. So we had left our roots, the comfort of our Mennonite college, and
yeah, the Mennonite community.
It was actually yeah, it was a really good experience for us to really formulate that early bonding and relationship. And so we really enjoyed our time in Northwest Kansas. I worked in banking, and we were there for, what, 2 years?
2.5. Well, was it 3? It was June of '84 to the fall of '86.
And the company he flew for sold their airplane, and they were going to give him a desk job, but he wanted to fly. That's what he was trained in. So at that point, his job moved us back east.
I got a job with an airline back east here, and then we moved back in this locale right away. That would have been the fall of '86. Fall of '86.
There were several options for regional airlines, but we knew that we wanted to start a family too, and thought it might be nice to be a little closer to both sets of parents. So him being from Ohio and me being from Pennsylvania, we thought this would be a good option. So we started our little family.
Yeah. So we lived in a little place called Swartzville, just down the road here, where the Big Weaver Market is at. Excuse me, we were there 1 year, And then we actually built a new house in a new development in Reamstown, which is 10 minutes from here. It's like the next, it's Denver and then Reamstown. So we moved there in 1988, was it? I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, it must have been early '88, and then Brandon was born.
No, it was
Fall of
87.
I was
Actually, it was
gonna say,
87, yeah.
He was born
The summer of
in the
87.
fall of '88,
Yeah.
and then Adam was born in '91. So
Yeah.
we had the two boys, and life was good. He was gone a lot with his job, but you know, and that brought some difficulties.
Yeah, we had been separated for a little bit in the it would have been 92, 91 or 92.
91.
91. And in that separation, when we came back together, the Lord really brought healing into our marriage, and you know, we just started to share more of what we looked forward to in life together as a couple. And one of the things that Brenda talked about was she always wanted to have her own business. She had been in banking, but there was the desire that she would have her own kind of small business of some sort. That led us into
A bed and breakfast. So my college major was actually business management, and my aunt ran a Victorian bed and breakfast in Gettysburg. And so she had become ill at one point and needed some help running the bed and breakfast. They were gone sometimes because of that. And so we thought, well, this would be an opportunity to practice a little. And she gave us some tips. So we went down there several weekends and ran her in while they were gone. He gave us a first-hand feel for what it would be like. And then they were looking to retire and trying to get us to buy their place. But we really preferred more of the colonial style house and more of the country. Hers was right on the edge of town in Gettysburg.
And we didn't really want to move to Gettysburg either. I mean,
yeah, our kids
it was
here.
a really touristy town too, and that just wasn't quite what we were looking for. Right.
So we started looking for just the right property, and there was a property in Denver, just outside of town, Denver, Pennsylvania, of course. And it was a colonial era home, and we had tried making some offers. We were, I think, the only serious offer, but unfortunately they didn't want to work with us, and the property eventually went to auction. But knowing that we had another house to sell in order to afford to buy that, we didn't even bid or anything. But that wasn't meant to be, so we kind of gave up for a time. But
oh, we did. I mean, at that point, I think, because we had been looking for a place for about 2 years.
Yeah, probably so.
And it just wasn't working out. So we just kind of felt like, well, the Lord didn't have this purposed for us. And I think it was, what, 3 months later, a lady from church who lived just down the road here, who walked around here, said, hey, I saw a place that was up for sale, and it had been a bed and breakfast before. So we were kind of like, oh, okay. So we pursued and looked at it. And it was pretty exciting, except the price. The price was a lot more than what we could afford. But we did go ahead and put an offer in for the property, and we put an offer in. The property it's one deed but 2 separate tracts. So we had put an offer in for just the tract of land that the house sat on, and they of course turned that down. And then it was,
I bet almost a year later.
No, it was. We'd done that in the spring, I believe. It was like April or May of '98.
But no one else had really come forward with any serious offers, and so
our realtor said, yeah, nobody offered anything else but you guys. So they said, why don't you just make another offer? And we said, well, we can't offer any more than what we had in the first place. And he says, we'll offer that on the whole property, and see what they say. And they accepted it. So that, you know, to us, a couple other things had to take place. We had a car that had to sell for a certain price, and it did. We had some stock options that had to increase by $5 a share, and it did. And we had to sell our house for a certain amount, and we had two people bidding on the house, so it sold for more than
Kind of like how it is now.
Yeah.
So that sounded like divine intervention.
Yeah.
And we really felt like the Lord had purpose for us to come here. And that's why 2 years prior, looking for a place, nothing really came to fruition, but this did. And we weren't even looking at that point. So that we really felt like the Lord had purposed this place for us. And you can tell about what took place with the Karen then, up the road, that we didn't even know about.
We didn't even know about this nationally recognized drug and alcohol treatment center just a couple miles up the road here. And so early on, many of our guests were loved ones visiting patients there, and they were doing a family education program, and so we're only like 3 miles away. So we've gotten a lot of guests through the Karen Center through the years. Now there's another B&B that has since located right next to them, so we occasionally get Karen guests, but the internet has just really exploded our business. So it's been really good, and we're still here. It's been 23 and a half years. I remember when we moved here, the big talk was Y2K, and we were a little nervous about opening a business and investing a lot of money in this old house, not knowing if things were going to go crazy and we might not have power and be able to serve our guests. But that all didn't materialize.
So we did buy a generator, and we did use it quite a bit the first, well, probably 3 to 5 years. There was power came into this property. We're actually down this whole road just in one way, and it happened to be that people would take out the pole and the electric wires would come down and we'd lose power. So we did use that generator a good bit the first number of years that we lived here.
So we've been here about 23 and a half years, and we've been married 40 years. We were married
40 years, July 10th.
1982, and this is 2022. So we had a big celebration here recently. And we just completed a major renovation out in the apartment area. So that could be a possible event place for small weddings, showers, retreats, things like that. And it was...
Or even a chapel.
Yeah.
A home church.
Yeah, you never know.
We might have to, depending on the way the world conditions are, we might have to go underground. But we'll see. So
there's always a project in this old house, and here we still are.
Yeah.
So some of the renovations you've done, and
some of the renovations.
In every room there was a renovation of some sort. Yeah.
Well, the first year, so we moved here Thanksgiving of '98, and we didn't do anything through the winter. And when we saw our electric bills, we realized that we had the first thing we had to do was to put a different heating system in and put central air conditioning in the house. That ended up to where we rewired the whole house.
Plumbing?
We replumbed the whole house, and there was we had some trouble with water in the basement, so we did some digging out front. That when we moved here, the only way to get in the house was the back door here, and there was no parking outside at all. I don't, where people must have parked was across the road. That's the only thing I could figure out.
There was a bed and breakfast before we had it, but the older lady was a widow, and she really didn't keep things up to date. So we regraded the land, put some parking areas in.
Cut down a lot of trees. You couldn't get to the front door. So there was literally no walkway. There was shrubs and trees, and it was
Growing
pretty
together.
damp on the front of the house. So
Opened that up and.
so
The
along with
guests- The guests had to come through here, every guest.
and it really wasn't a walkway to this door either. You had to walk through kind of a mud hole to get in the
Yeah,
house.
I'm not
It was
sure.
really kind of yucky. It's kind of so the parking that we have for 2 cars, the parking we have for 3 cars, and the landscaping outside with the front walkway. We did that all through the spring, summer, fall of '99. We did that. Then inside, like I said, we rewired, we replumbed, put in a new heating and air conditioning system.
And each bedroom, we put a bathroom in. Some of the bathrooms were shared by several rooms, so.
So grandma's room, we put a bathroom in, and yeah, and then the shaker was not a suite; it was a 2-room rental. So we put a doorway in between the 2 rooms and made it a suite, a 2-room suite.
And then we worked on this first floor guest room, put a bathroom in there too. And so there's 4 rooms altogether.
Well, in that first year, you did a lot of stripping of wallpaper, replastering, stripping woodwork, repainting. That was the first year. That was all done in 99. 99 was our huge, I mean, it's like I got very little sleep, 3-4 hours a night.
And you were still working?
I was working full-time at the airline. Yeah.
Well, we were 23 years younger then too, so. Makes a difference. Can't do that now.
Yeah. I remember we pulled some all-nighters. I remember working all through the night till right into the next day. Never stopped working.
Usually didn't have to go fly then. That.
Yeah, usually. Yeah. But I remember if I was overnighting somewhere close, Brenda would come pick me up and bring me home, and I would work. And then the next, midnight, take me back to the airport or back to the hotel, and then I'd be up flying the next morning. Yeah,
Sounds crazy.
that was the first year of work.
Worked very hard.
Yeah. Then each room, like a couple years, I guess it was probably in 2001, our section out here behind the kitchen, we renovated the area and put a bedroom and a bathroom out there. We already had kind of like a small living space, and that's where our sons then, which they were the ages of 8 and 10 and 8 when we moved here.
So they were teenagers. We put a bedroom out there for them.
Yeah.
And our family room was always out there, so we spent a lot of time out there.
And then that allowed Grandpa's room that you're in, that allowed us to start working on that. That room was, from what we could tell, that room had been a storage room for the stagecoach, and it was in really bad shape, really beat up, and the floor was just unsavable. I had to rip the floor up, and we actually put a whole nother floor in there.
And that was probably because there's no basement under that room. It's just a crawl space, and that's an L-shaped basement. So probably moisture, really damaged the flooring.
Well, that and just a lot of traffic on that floor over 240 years.
Yeah.
So
the previous owner only was renting out 3 rooms then,
yeah,
and
Correct.
not everyone had a bathroom.
Right.
right. The one room they had a 4th room, but
It was a
I mean
storage room.
it was so small. I mean, you could fit a double bed in there. That's about it.
So that's what we have it as now, but it's part of the adjoining
suite, yeah.
suite. Yeah.
Adjoining suite.
That's
And
cool.
so, I guess backing up, Grandma's room was the first room that we completely restored because it had plaster falling off the ceiling, and the woodwork looked like it had been burned. It was really odd. I mean, it was really in bad shape. And the floor was really beat up in that room too. So that's the room we put a bathroom in and completely restored that room. Then the next room was your room that you're in now, Grandpa's room. We did that. And that was probably about 2001 or 2. And then the next room we went into was, we did the sitting room of the Shaker Suite. We fixed that one up because it was the next room that had plaster falling off the ceiling. and really upgraded just that particular sitting room.
And then we went to the Queen Anne?
Then we went to the Queen Anne, and the Queen Anne room kind of got done. The bathroom had an angled shower in the corner, and it constantly leaked. I would tear it completely apart, clean everything up, put it back together, and as I'm putting it back together, I'm recaulking it. And it would last about 1.5 years, 2 years, and then start leaking again. So we kind of I got to the point where it's like, I'm not doing this again. We're putting in a whole new tile shower. So I ripped out the shower, I had our builder come in, and he's like looking at it, and he's saying, we got to gut the whole thing. The whole thing's got to be, we got to go down to the studs. Because we were starting to find some rot here and there, and so the whole bathroom got gutted, and I'm like, well, okay, this went from being like a 3-day project to a whole week project, and I'm like, the room had not been touched either, the bedroom portion, so it's like, well, we got to do the bedroom too. Since the bathroom's down this long, and we're completely doing the bathroom, let's just get the room done. So it was down for what, 6 weeks?
Oh no. I don't know that it was completely down for 6 weeks. What would happen is we would block out maybe 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 3 weekends, and then time on either side. And I just remember thinking, well, we have this time to finish it, and we'll try and get it done. But then we had guests coming, and it's like, okay, what are we going to do? So that next weekend, we weren't quite finished yet, so we gave them a free upgrade to the suite across the hall. Okay, that works, that's fine. But we had to have it done by the following weekend because we were going to have a full house. We needed that room. So we had it all sanded. The floor was sanded.
Well, everything was done except the floor wasn't finished.
Yeah, so we sanded the floor, got it nice looking, but we hadn't put the finish on, and it was time to rent it out. So we cleaned the whole room up, moved all the furniture back in, rented it out for the weekend, and then after they left, we moved all the furniture back out and put the solution on the floor and finished it. And that stuff is smelly, so it needs a week to, air out. Secure.
So when we were done with that room, then we went to the Shaker Suite, and we went to the bedroom. And we did the bedroom because, again, plaster was just about ready to fall off the ceiling, and that just caused us to do that whole room.
And you were telling me a lot of the plaster was horsehair plaster.
Yeah.
So that is why that deteriorated like that, because it was horsehair?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't have to say it's because it's horsehair. I mean, we're talking 240, 50, 60 years old in some of this plaster. And the one thing about plaster on a ceiling is when there's flecks on the floors, that's where you usually get cracking in the ceilings. It hasn't been so bad since we are able to keep the temperature and humidity level of the house at a more even state throughout the whole year. Mm-hmm. But temperature and humidity will really change plaster. It will make it crack here and there, along with the flexing of the on the floor. So the easiest thing to do to fix that, you don't tear it off because it's way too dirty and dusty. So what we did is we would put lath up, and then we would drywall it and tie it into the walls. Now all the walls are still plaster in the house. Where we had to do patching, we'd patch in with plaster. But most of the ceilings in the house now are drywall, which, I mean, like with Grandma's room, that's 23 years, and it's perfect. No problems with it. So yeah, then we did the Shaker Suite bedroom, and then we moved probably about 4 years later. We had to do the bathroom because the bathtub was in really bad shape. So that ended up getting gutted and redid the whole bathroom, and that was
walk-in tile shower.
Yeah, that took about 3 weeks to get that accomplished. And then from there, the next major project to do was to tie in our living space out here, because if you remember, when you went out our kitchen door and out the back door, you'd have to go outside to go into that portion.
There's a breezeway between the two buildings.
Yeah, so ever since we moved here, ever since we actually saw the property, my thought was always to tie those two together so you didn't have to walk outside to go in, because that was always going to be our private area. Which now it's already getting rented out, so I don't know how private it's going to be.
And it was time. We've used that space for, like, our son when he moved home from college for a time, and there was a family friend who needed a fresh start in life, and on several occasions there was a young family that just needed some transitional housing. So, and then most recently my mom was there before she passed, and then it's like, okay, it's time. That flat tin roof is leaking a little bit.
A little bit. It had been leaking for about 10 years, and the leaks were getting really bad to the point where it's like, well, now we've got to do something, because it's not really livable. So we tore that down. We just tore it down completely to the concrete and built back up. That was the easiest thing.
And raised the roof too, put dormers out to tie in with what we had done over the garage, which was another project along the way too, the garage.
Oh my, yeah, the garage was a stick frame with a dirt floor, and wooden garage doors were all rotted out in the bottom. Every single one of them, because there was no gutters on anything, so the water would just run off the roof and right down at the base. So I'm thinking we did the garage a couple of years after we did Grandpa's room, and before we did the Queen Anne room. And that was a major project.
Because he put tubing in-floor radiant heat under the garage floor
in the concrete,
in the hopes of eventually having a heated garage, which just finally happened with this project out here.
And this project,
put a new furnace in out there.
So we have heated the floor in this new area, our new personal area. That floor is heated. That whole floor, the bedroom, bathroom, everything, that's heated. Just like all the floor, the first floor here in the house is hot water pumped through there. So yeah, in-floor heating in there, and in-floor heating in the garage we put in. But yeah, the garage was a big deal. We had to raise the roof, we had to add to the roof, we had to tear off all the trim and retrim it, we had to put new doors on. And I wanted to have a door that looked kind of like a carriage door. And we did a lot of investigating and a lot of looking and a lot of asking, and we ended up buying the cheapest garage door you could buy, because we needed a wood door to work with, and so it was a very cheap door.
Probably lightweight.
Not necessarily.
Because you added weight.
But we added tongue and groove cedar to make it look like it was carriage doors that open and close. And yeah, it was the builder I worked with, he had ways of figuring things out, and we actually built a jig we got a correct measurement, and then we built a jig, and we just sat there for like 3 hours just cutting boards, because we had to cut a lot of boards, and then we'd jig with each panel of the garage door, and set up the boards, and then glued and nailed them on. And so, you know, so when the door goes up, they break, you know, there's 4 sections. But when it comes down, it looks like it's a...
And the little hitching post thing in the middle.
Yeah.
So the local contractors were both Amish and Mennonite?
No.
With a lot of experience, or no?
No, the person that we had do the most work on the property was a local guy right here in Reinholds. He'd gone to church. We went to church together. He had started out when he was 16. He was still in high school with a building company around here called Blue Lake Builders. And they did all new construction. And he worked for them for 10 years. Actually became kind of like a foreman for him when he was in his, I think, 22 or 23. And I think something happened where things started to slow down at one point. I'm not sure what year that would have been for him. And he just thought, you know, I think I'm ready to go out on my own. So he went and bought himself a pickup truck, and he had all the tools, because, you know, they didn't, he throughout the years he was buying his own tools to work on stuff. So he gained significant amount, and he did everything. He did concrete, he did plumbing, he did carpentry work, he did finish work, he did plastering, he did drywall. He'd done all that work with Blue Lake Builders, and so when he went out on his own, he had a lot of people that already started requesting him. I found out about him because we just moved here. You know, we moved here in '98, and we had some structural issue here in the hallway, and I was mentioning it to somebody else at church, and he overheard me, and I told him what I was trying to do, and he's like, well, I'll come over. I'll bring my son-in-law, and he and I'll come over. We'll take a look at it. Well, he came over, and he had all his tools with him, and he just went in there and started, you know, maneuvering things around, and he said, well, we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to do this, and you know, he was here for probably about 4 hours, and got things all leveled out again, and I'm like, well, great, you know. And then from that point on, I used him until he was killed in a construction accident just over a couple miles from here. Really, really strange accident.
Too bad. He's really missed in the community.
Yeah.
Really, because he worked for a lot of people in this community. A lot of people.
So all your renovations were done before he was killed?
Most
good amount of that.
Of course, not this here.
This whole section here, this was done by an Amishman from the nickel mines area, which is between Gap and Strasburg, right? I'm trying to remember the name of the town.
Amish community.
He and his sons, he had 2 sons, they were working for another Amishman on construction for years and years and years. And that Amishman decided to retire. This is probably a good 8 years ago now. And what he did is he created a new company, and then just picked up the work that he already had scheduled and continued on. And the father usually goes around bidding and looking at all the job sites to bid and so forth. And then it was his 2 sons that did the majority of the work. The one son was 24, the other son was 20. And I can't say enough good about it. I mean, they were just excellent workers, and knew exactly, they knew exactly what to do. And they are very picky about precision. They
Detail.
they wanted things square. They wanted things, you know, if it didn't
Which
go
is
in
hard
right.
in this old house.
Yeah. We did. I mean, this was not an easy project because you're trying to tie something in between two old buildings. You know, one that was built in the 1700s and another one that was built in the 1970s. So it was challenging for them a little bit.
And they're reasonably priced too. You know,
Yeah.
just a fair.
Yeah. And you know, we had one other builder here that was doing some work for us, and it didn't go well. But these guys, like, if they needed to stay late to get something finished up, they stayed late. And the one night they were here till midnight.
Because there was a storm.
There was a storm,
coming back.
yeah, and they had to get the roof on, so they were here till midnight. And then they came back the next morning at, they were here at 7 a.m. And we had to get the sides finished in, and they got that done. They were here till 1 in the afternoon, and they got it done just, I mean, it started pouring just as they put the last staples in. So, you know, I just can't say enough good about I'm trying to remember the name of the company. But anyways, so they're my go-to person for any major construction now. There's a few little odds and ends here that they know they got to pick up.
Isn't it called Spring Ridge?
Spring Ridge, yeah, Spring Ridge Builders, yeah. And he actually owns I'll have to send you to this restaurant. He has a restaurant. He owns a restaurant down
Near Quarryville.
well, that's the town. It's the town that they live in. And it's as good or better than Katie's Kitchen. I mean, we stopped in one time and had, well, twice I think we were there, weren't we? But really, really good home food cook. I mean, this is like hometown cooking. It's nothing in the process.
That's the name of the restaurant. Hometown Kitchen or Hometown
is it?
Cooking. Yeah.
I have to look it up on the phone. So yeah, that's
the story of this old house, anyway.
yeah, that's kind of the story. Yeah,
It's funny. We talked a little bit this morning about hobbies and doing things together, and this has, I guess, become our hobby. I mean, we do have other hobbies. We enjoy bicycling and hiking a lot, and we love museums and history. But we've enjoyed working together on projects in this old house. But we're not getting any
Sounds
younger.
like a PBS series.
There you go.
It sure could have been, but they would have to take. I mean, it's really been 20. It's been 23 years of just, you know, we try to do things. We do things pay as we go. We don't like to borrow money to do a project. So we wait till we have enough to get started, and then usually the project lasts long enough that we can save up more. Like this project here, we started Christmas. Well, we actually started. I think it was around Thanksgiving. No, it was actually even before that. It was like 1st of November of 2020, and then they showed up the week of Christmas 2020 to start building, and July 8th of 22 is when we had the floor done. So
Just in time for our 40th celebration.
so yeah, I mean, projects they just take time. I mean, we learned that when we go to tackle a room, you have an idea that this is what you're going to do, but every single project in this house has been something surprises you once you tear it apart. It's like, oh.
Always have to figure extra money and extra time.
Yeah, double the money. Double the money and double the time.
But we've done pretty much all new replacement windows in the main
I
house.
forgot
That's another
about
big
that.
project.
Oh my goodness, that was
Windows.
And we've got the water garden out here. Now that was here before, but we've added to that. And
I've rebuilt it 3
done a lot of
times.
landscaping.
I've rebuilt the water garden 3 times. Water gardens are really nice, but they do take a lot of work. They're as much work as a swimming pool. if not more. But they're nice. But yeah, the windows, we replaced all the windows in the house. That was major work. It took.
We did that over 2 sessions, like we did half the windows the 1 year and then saved up some
3
money.
years. 3 years later.
A couple years later, we did the rest of it.
So you count up how many windows we have in the main house. And I'll say it was 8 hours of labor per window to remove, fix, and reinstall. So we had 8 hours of labor per window, and the average price per windows was about $800 per window. And and we just had a lot of frustration with the windows. I'll never forget that. That's one, yeah, you brought that up. But there's how many?
Sometimes you had to rebuild the frames because they had rotted out.
We had to rebuild frames. We had and then then the window company messed up the windows, and we had to get the windows redone twice, not once but twice. And then we went back, 2 years later, ordered more windows, exact same window, and they came back with the exact same problem. Had to redo it again. I was just like, and I had specifically told him, I said, look at your order. He said, yeah, I got the old order, Okay, so you see where we had to change this out here and here? Yep, I see that. Okay, so just make sure that this is what you said. No. Oh, it's so funny.
Our windows go down onto the stone sill. We don't need a windowsill, and so that's already unique. And then there was something about the way the window opened and closed.
Well, it was the first time they sent, we couldn't close the window. It'd go all the way down except for the last four inches. It wouldn't close, and we couldn't close it. So they had to send us new stuff. We put that in, and then it wouldn't hold the window up. Put the window up, and
They actually had their representative come
Twice.
to see what we were talking about, and it's like, oh yeah, okay.
And the third time they finally sent the right stuff. And then sure enough, 2 years later when we ordered all the other windows, the same thing happened. It's like, I guess just shaking my head. But anyway, how many windows are in the house, honey? 2, 4, 6, 8.
18 or 19?
Yeah, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. There's 20 windows in here. 20 large windows, and then the attic has 4 smaller windows in it.
And
Yes.
that's not counting these ones out
Yes,
here.
not
This
counting
is
these
the
out.
last project. And actually, we need to replace these 2 yet. That will be the last of the replacement windows. These we're not going to replace because they're not outdoor facing windows, and we want to retain the original.
So that's kind of, and then for major projects,
I think this is the last major project. That shed is looking like
my old shed out there, I don't know, if it falls over, then maybe I'll build something different. If it doesn't fall over, I don't know. Maybe I'll try to straighten it.
restructure it, I don't know.
Well, Brenda and Mark, we thank you so much
You're welcome.
explaining your trials and tribulations.
And thank you so
But,
much for
yeah.
staying with us so many times too. It's been really a blessing to have repeat guests like you guys.
And I would like to add for whoever watched this is that, like we had shared, the Lord really had purpose for us to be here on how we actually got here. And there's many things through the years that should have either taken us away from here or that we would have lost the house due to finances and so forth. But the Lord has provided, even in the midst of just we have no idea where we're going to have enough money. But He has always provided. And the guests that we have over the last 23 years has also been an absolute blessing.
affirmation.
we have experienced being blessed and blessing others. And so, you know, we kind of look at this, when somebody books and we have somebody come through the front door, we believe that the Lord has purposed for them to be. So, you know, we give Him glory and praise for all that's taken place here and for keeping us here.
So many of the guests are repeat guests.
We have this whole week, it was all repeat guests, which
yeah.
was really fun.
But then it's interesting how many new guests we have every year too. And I think if it ever happens, we might write a book on
If we
all
ever
the
have time,
all the people we met.
projects are
Is
done.
that titled This Old House?
No, who's at the front door?
And our favorite thing, I would say, is just interacting around the breakfast table.
With Molly.
With Molly, yeah. Yep. Just getting to know people and from all walks of life. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just really been a wonderful thing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.